Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday, it's August 24th, it's 2020, and I'm here with my buddy Genie407 to break down the 7-game MLB slate. Grant, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing just absolutely fine and dandy. Nice little weekend. Took it off of working, but ready to go right back into things. It's a fun little 7-game slate today.
Yeah, I can't say the same. It was a super busy weekend for me. I think it was the craziest NASCAR schedule we've ever had with 5 races in 3 days. So I'm ready to grind some baseball. Get ready for Daytona this weekend in NASCAR, and just have a Sunday off. Next Sunday when we're recording, I like it to be a day that I've had off. So I'm a little bit more excited about that. But 7 games and ready to kind of get back in the mix here. We're gonna get started with the Cubs and the Tigers. Alec Mills against Casey Miz. Any interest here in Mills?
Strangely enough, I have a ton of interest in Mills. Do you think he's going to be chalky at all? Like, I'm trying to gather
Yes.
because really,
I think he'll have ownership, right? Because he's facing Detroit, and like he's not uberly expensive at 7,800.
yeah, he's facing Detroit. He's not that expensive, but he's just had 2 real bad outings in a row. And one was like when he played against Milwaukee, looking into his numbers, looking into everything, only had 2 fly balls the entire game. He just got BABIP in the wrong scenarios and then gave up 1 bomb. Um, like he absolutely got crushed by St. Louis. He played terrible that game, but he should be up around 90 some odd pitches in this game if they let him go long enough. He's going up against Detroit. He's been a little bit wild so far this year, but nothing terrible. He's sitting in 8.7 walk rate, but this Detroit lineup's just absolutely terrible. They're free swing. He's predominantly a ground ball pitcher, and he should be able to induce ground balls here and probably isn't going to give a home run. So the only way he really ends up getting beat up here is by BABIP. And with the high strikeout rates of Detroit, he should absolutely crush here. He's one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. Might have to rethink it if he is going to be chalky. I'll check on ownership tomorrow. But as of right now, I think just because of his last bad start, I don't think too many people are going to be on him, especially considering the slate and how many aces we have.
We have like 4 or 5 guys, 5, 6, 7 guys on a 7-game slate. So there's a ton of options. So maybe because of the fact that there's a ton of options, like he doesn't get a ton of ownership. But I would think a guy at 7,800, especially a right-handed pitcher that has shown some upside, is going to be popular against Detroit. But like I said, I could be wrong. So we'll just have to see. You kind of talked about all the good things for him here, like his WOBA overall still very good. His strikeout rate's down a little bit this season from last season, but Detroit can help anybody with that. This team, the projected lineup has a 30.4% K rate against right-handed pitching this season. So on the other side, Miz, coming on to his second start here. Gray showed a little bit of flash, a little bit of strikeout potential in his first start against the White Sox. Tougher matchup here against the Cubs. They do have 5 guys with strikeout rates over 30% this season, and Bryant out. So do you have any interest in him here?
I don't. I expect him to probably be a chalkier play than Mills, but I could be wrong here. This again the night before, and I don't know exactly how people are going to react. But it's simply his price tag that is the reason why I have a little bit of interest in him. He's sitting there at 6.2K over on DK, and we look at the rest of the guys around the same price tag, and there's just nothing good around that price tag. So because of that, I don't really want to use him. And if he's going to be chalky, I'll probably try and find some ways around it. But the reason why he was so good in his last matchup, he was going up against the White Sox, tons of Ks in that lineup. They held him to, I think 73 pitches. So he'll probably be up
he got
to
in
80
trouble.
pitch.
He gave up 3 hits in a row and they yanked him. So
yeah, no, but they were just they were letting him roll that deep just because he was striking out everyone. He was pitching really well because it was the White Sox up until then. So I don't know what his pitch count is going to be. I would guess around 80, 85, which at 6.2K with his minor league strikeout numbers. He was only around a 23% K rate in the minors, and he went straight from AA up to the majors. So I don't expect him to be that great of a strikeout pitcher in the majors, and I don't think he's going to be that great of a pitcher right away. He just happened to have one start where both pitchers were just striking out everyone. So I don't mind him. I'm not a huge fan of him. The matchup's all right, But like if he's going to be uber chalky like I think he's going to be, I'm going to try and get up to Mills. But if he's not going to be that chalky, then I'll definitely have some of him in my lineup strictly because of his price tag.
Yeah, I don't hate him. Like, you look at this lineup and, Baez, Schwarber, Contreras, Kipnis, Bodie, like, they're all over 30% K rates against right-handed pitching this season. So there's a lot of Ks, everywhere throughout this lineup, even like Happ and Rizzo up at the top, 20 and 21.5%. So, like, there's strikeouts here. I think he's in play, but definitely going to be looking at his ownership and it also is going to depend on, like, what type of value we have as far as hitters go. Um, you know, we'll see that as lineups come out because there's a bunch of good pitchers on the slate, and we'll see how it plays out. Any interest in the Cubs bats here?
Again, this is one that's entirely dependent on ownership. If Mays is going to be that chalky, then I have a ton of interest in Chicago. Like I said, I don't think he's that great of an MLB pitcher yet. Like, he went straight from Double A to here. Like, he just had a good matchup. He showed some decent stuff there, but he's not going to be a guy that's just going to go out and destroy. Like, the Chicago bats, some of them haven't been great so far this year, but there definitely is some power in this lineup here. Happ, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Contreras, all the way up and down the lineup. There is some power. Yes, there's some strikeouts. But like I said, he's probably going to be a league average strikeout pitcher for the rest of the season, would be my guess. So if he's going to be chalky, I'm absolutely stacking up the Cubs all over the place. And if he's not going to be, then I'm probably going to have a decent amount of him. And you just look at Happ is the one that mainly stands off the page, especially if he's going to be batting leadoff. 3.9K is way too cheap for him. I really have a lot of interest in him, and guys like Carantini and Hayward sitting at 2.7, 2.8K. Like, depending on where ownership lands, this could be my most owned stack.
Yeah, I like Happ as well. When Schwarber and Contreras are not striking out, they're hitting the ball really hard. But they're striking out at such a high clip that it's hard to like them. Like, Baez is having a rough season, 104 ISO in the season. So if I'm playing the Cubs, it's strictly because Miz is popular. And then on Detroit, like, even if Mills is popular, I just don't see Detroit beating me. And I'm going to say this a lot, like, there's cheap bats here at the top of the order if you want to play these guys as one-offs. When you need some salary at positions you don't love, I don't hate it. But overall, like, I just don't have a ton of interest in Detroit.
Yeah, no one's been playing well this season. No one's that great. Like, Scope and Cabrera are probably the two that stand out the most, but I don't really want to play them. Cabrera would just be simply because he's so cheap. I'm going up against Mills. I want to look for high fly ball rate guys, and there's just not many in this lineup. Like, they may get contact on the ball, they may get a double or two, but more than likely, this is not going to be a lineup that does anything here. I will likely have zero ownership in any of them.
Twins and Indians, Kenta Maeda against Aaron Civil. Maeda looked great in his last start, had a no-no going to the ninth inning and gave up a hit in the ninth. Against the Brewers, and just absolutely dominated. Really, like, 4 good starts out of 5 appearances this season. 3.1 xFIP on the season. Any interest here in Kenta Maeda?
Not really. Like, I think there's 2 guys up at the top that I'm going to go with, and neither of them are actually in this game. I'm not going to argue with playing Maeda. Obviously, he's been fantastic this season. Ground balls to both sides of the plate. Definitely more upside going against righties than lefties. And the problem is there's Hernandez, Ramirez, Lindor, Santana, and anyone else they end up throwing in their lineup that's a lefty in there. And definitely the top 4 bets. So really limited strikeout upside. I don't think I'm going to end up going with him. I know that Cleveland has not been hitting the ball well this season, especially going up against righties. But still, like, not a spot. There's just other guys I'd rather go with. So I'm not going to talk you off playing Maeda, but I'm not using him.
Yeah, like, I don't hate him. Cleveland Indians, they have really struggled offensively to start the season. So I think he's in play. They're bottom 10 in a lot of offensive categories this season. So WOBA, WRC plus, hard hit rate, ISO, they're bottom 10 in all of those against right-handed pitching. So Kenta Maeda's been pitching good this season. I think he's definitely in play. I'm with you on, like, the top arm is Bauer. We're not going to try to sugarcoat it. Like, he's facing Milwaukee. He's been one of the best pitchers this season. Like, he's the top arm. So if we get enough value, if there's a value stack that we like, maybe we could go like double barrel with Bauer and Maeda. Lance Lynn's in a good spot. Jack Flaherty's in a good spot. Like, we have a bunch of arms on the slate. So I think Kenta Maeda is in the mix. And then, like, Aaron Stevietpfl on the other side, like, he's pitched really strong to start the season. Like, he's someone that we've used quite a bit, used him a lot in his complete game against Pittsburgh last time out. But this is a tough offense to face. There's a ton of options in this range. It's just a spot that, like, we hope he doesn't crush, but we don't use him.
Yeah. It's definitely possible they could, but Minnesota, very, very tough lineup to get through. Like, I'm not going to use him. I mean, in this price range, I'll just straight up tell you it's Lynn that I'm going with, and we'll get to that in the next game. So, like, it's not that either of these guys are bad. Like, I definitely would be more apt to use Maeda than I would Seville. Just Minnesota is a tough lineup. There are some big strikeout bats, but most of those bats come with a whole lot of power. His strikeout rate on the season has been decent, but he's going up against a team that – I know he doesn't walk a lot of guys, but he's going up against a team that draws a decent amount of walks. So I just don't see a scenario where Seville ends up killing me. It's definitely within the realm of possibilities. Like, his top 10% outcome is probably around 28 points. So I don't think that I'm going to end up using him at all, and strictly because of the matchup and the other two arms I would much rather use. But if you want to use him, go ahead. I'm probably going to be more apt to stack against him.
Yeah, like, I don't even know if I'll stack against him. I think, like, Kepler, Cruz, Rosario, Polanco, like, I think you can make, like, a three-man here maybe, but, like, I don't know if I would, like, full-on stack. He has been a lot worse against lefties. He's given up a ton of fly balls and a ton of hard contact to lefties. So, like, if you want to throw in, like, three lefties from Minnesota, like, there's so many lefties with power here. Like, I'm not gonna talk you off of it.
Yeah, that's kind of the main thought process behind it is, like, his WOBA and his ISO have been fantastic going up against lefties this season. But you look at the underlying stats, a 46% fly ball rate and a 55% hard contact rate. Keeping those throughout the course of the season, he's not going to continue to get these same numbers going up against lefties. And you look at his average hit distance for lefties, he's at 206 compared to 134 versus righties, and he actually is doing better versus lefties so far this season. So there's no real rational reason why he should be doing this good. It's mostly luck, and he's going up against Kepler and Rosario, both of which have a 50% plus fly ball rate going up against righties this season. There's 7 guys in the lineup that have huge hard contact rate going up against righties. I don't want to use Cruz that much, but he is Cruz, so I will definitely throw him in there in a stack. But Kepler, Rosario, Cave are 3 guys that I definitely want to have in my lineup quite a bit, and I don't think they're going to draw that much ownership. So it's a spot where they're a little bit too cheap. Kepler's at 4.5K, and he's been one of the best hitters in baseball this season. And Rosario's at 4.3K. Like, Polanco and Cruz are both a little bit too expensive, and Polanco's not really a guy that, if I remember correctly, hits as well versus righties as he does versus lefties. It's actually the other way around. Polanco's fine. He's just been struggling this season. And so now with his high K rate, I don't want to use him. But the lefties in this lineup are absolutely in play and probably a bit too underpriced.
The Cleveland side of things, I probably won't end up playing Cleveland here. Reyes maybe, because, like, he's just a big time power guy. But, like, you look at the numbers, the 2020 numbers for this Cleveland team, and they have really dropped off this year.
Yeah, no, Ramirez and Lindor are both guys that end up going on a pretty big heater. They're sitting there at 5.4K. Yes, Maeda strikes out lefties at a much, much lower clip, but he's still an extreme ground ball pitcher, has been pretty good against them so far this season. Doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. I don't like the upside for any of these bats. I'm not going to bother using any of them at these price tags because the top 5 guys in the lineup are all 4.5K and above. So it's just not a spot where stacking is going to end up being worth it. It's not like Maeda is going to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. So full-on fade for the Cleveland bats for me.
Oakland at Texas. Jesus Luzardo against Lance Lynn. Any interest here in Luzardo?
I mean, he's fine. He's 7.4K. I drastically prefer Mills, so it's possible that if Mills is going to draw a ton of ownership, I switch over to Luzardo, going up against a team that's been striking out a pretty decent clip. They have one of the lowest implied team totals on the board of 3.7. runs. So the guy's got talent. He's been good so far. He's definitely a guy I could see using and pivoting off of Mills too, just because of the price and everything. But like disregarding ownership, I am absolutely on Mills over Luzardo, but ownership could sway that. But I would assume that Luzardo is actually going to be higher owned than Mills is going to be.
I like Luzardo a lot. I think this is a great spot for him. The Texas offense has been very underwhelming this season, so I think it's a really good spot for Luzardo. He pitched well against this team already. I don't know if I think that was that his like second or third outing, but only got like 76 pitches through 5 innings, through pretty clean game against them already. So really like this spot for him. I think this is a great, kind of watch this range type of play to see like what ownership looks like for tournaments anyway. And then Lance Lynn on the other side, Lance Lynn's been someone that like ever since the beginning of last year, we've been able to play a lot. And this is one of those spots that I think you can really look at Lance Lynn. I know you already kind of said he was your guy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love him at this price tag. 8.9K here is just too cheap. He's going up against an Oakland team that there's definitely some strikeouts in there. He's way better versus righties than versus lefties. Been a little bit worse versus righties so far this season because he's been a little bit more wild. But he's still a guy with massive K upside versus righties. He's been going 106, 107, 108, 109, 110 pitches almost every single start of this season. So we know he can go later into the games here. Texas has been a pretty decent pitcher's ballpark so far this season. There's a 4.4 implied run total here for the Athletics, which I think is way too high here. So I have if I can, any lineup I can't get up to Bauer, I will go Lynn. That's why I'm completely skipping over Maeda. That's why I'm completely skipping over Surveil. I love Lance Lynn here. This is a perfect spot for him, and he should absolutely crush, and he should go late into the game.
Yeah, I think he's one of those other arms. There's not a weak spot for pitching on this slate. This is I wish we could have spread this pitching slate out over the next couple days because there's so many arms to choose from. Oakland bats. I know you like Lynn a lot. Man, I don't even know. I guess you could do a 3-man of Olsen, Chapman, and Kana, but I'm not going to go out of my way to roster Oakland bats here.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I do like Olsen as a one-off. I know he's expensive, but Lynn obviously quite a bit worse versus lefties than he is versus righties. Olsen is a fantastic bat, can absolutely crush the ball. Grossman's been pretty decent this year, and he is a lefty, so going with him, I don't hate. It's not the worst idea in the world, but I don't really want to play the righties in this lineup going up against Lynn.
Yeah, Grossman has been a guy you said he's been crushing the ball. So he's definitely in play. Comes into this game with a 328 ISO and a 421 WOBA on the season. So don't hate Grossman. Don't hate that call. Texas bats. It's hard for me to recommend anybody here. Joey Gallo, lefty. If he hits the ball, it'll go far. But if he doesn't hit it, he's going to strike out easily. Todd Frazier, I guess. This is one of the reasons that I like Luzardo on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, Luzardo, the way he pitches, he should be a little bit normal splitsy, but he's a lot closer to splits neutral than people realize. So I don't hate throwing in Gallo there, just because he can absolutely bomb the ball, and Luzardo doesn't have the greatest strikeout numbers going up against lefties so far this season. But yeah, definitely not a lineup that I'm really going on my way to target. Frazier, I don't mind at 3.7K. It's not the worst idea in the world, but largely fading the Texas bats in the spot.
Moving right along, we got Cincinnati at Milwaukee. Trevor Bauer against Brett Anderson. I kind of already spilled the beans. He is the best pitcher on the slate. He's been one of the best pitchers all year, coming in with a 1.84 xFIP with a 43.5% strikeout rate. Everything that we want to see out of a pitcher he's shown, and he faces a Milwaukee team that has a 31.5% strikeout rate with the projected lineup against right-handed pitching. It doesn't get much better than facing Milwaukee if you're a top arm like Bauer.
Yeah, no, the matchup's great. He hasn't had less than 36 points in a matchup for almost an entire year now. Just fun fact for you there, which is 4 games. But Bauer, like, pitching out of his mind this season, 43% K rate, 1.84 xFIP on the season, going up against a lineup with a 30% projected K rate versus righties this season. Like, there's not much more than say. He's 10.2 K. That's too cheap. He's going over 100 pitches consistently and get up to 110. They'll just let him pitch late into games. He is the top option on the slate by wide margin. I'm pissed off that he's on the slate because I really wanted to use a lot of Lance Lynn, but Bauer is going to, like, I don't know how lineup builds are going to go, but anytime I can get Bauer into the lineup, I will get Bauer into the lineup.
Brett Anderson, high ground ball guy, not going to strike people out. Does a great job of not getting blown up, but doesn't really put up monster fantasy days. I'm going to pass on him on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to. Like, he can put up a 15, 20-point game. If you don't want, like, if Mize is going to be chalky, then if you can't get up to a guy like Luzardo or a guy like Mills, then I don't hate going with Anderson. He's going up against a Cincinnati team that is somewhat average at striking out versus lefties, but it's just not really a spot where I want to use him. It's strictly if you can't get up to the other arms on the slate, then that's when you throw him
in. Let's talk bats here for Cincinnati. You look at like Davidson, he's a guy that hits the ball up in the air a lot. I definitely like him in this spot. And like, we don't have a ton of offense that we've talked about yet. We know how good Suarez and Castellanos are against left-handed pitching. Throw Irvin in there and Casali. Like, you have a 5-man right here that's definitely in the mix.
Yeah, no, I really like this stack here. Castellanos is a fantastic play. Going up against a lefty, he's absolutely smashed him since the beginning of last year. Anderson is really not a high K rate guy, which is the biggest problem with Davidson. So a lefty with a 13% K rate since the beginning of last season going up against a righty with a ton of power sitting at 3K. I mean, he may be chalky, but I'm going to use a ton of him. Like, he just makes things work. It makes it easy to get Bauer into your lineup. So Davidson's one of the top options on the entire slate, maybe the top option point per dollar on the entire slate. Absolutely love him here. And yeah, throwing in Suarez, who mashes, and Irvin, who mashes there. Like, you got a nice little stack there that I really, really like. So the power righties going up against Anderson's a fantastic play today.
On the other side, do you have any interest in the Brewers?
Let's just skip it. Don't use the Brewers bad. Bauer's been too good. I mean, Yelich is one-off is fine, but there's no other point in using anyone in this lineup.
Yeah, but like, even the problem with like Yelich, you don't get, like, he's still 5,400. You're not getting like a discount for him facing one of the best pitchers in baseball this season. So like, even him as a one-off, like, he's going to need a big game to really pay off. So Royals and Cardinals, Brad Keller, Jack Flaherty. Any interest here in Keller?
Nah, Keller is really not very good. He hasn't been great since the beginning of last season. I know that he's pitched well this season, but he's been wild a little bit. He's been walking guys at a pretty decent clip so far this season. I think he's gotten a little bit lucky. He has a 5.06 xFIP, and he's given up no earned runs. That's not going to continue. Not a guy that I want to use here. Like, yes, anything can happen. This is baseball, and there is a decent amount of strikeouts in this lineup here. But Keller is not the guy that I want to use.
Yeah, man, I think he'll pitch well. I don't think like they'll blow him up. Like, he's just 0 ISO on the season. That's going to change. I'm not saying that it's going to stay that way. If you look into a lot of like the advanced stats and stuff for Keller, like, he has a 5x FIP, like 5 points higher than his ERA. Like, this is not gonna keep up like what you just said. So I'm going to pass on Keller here. There's so many options that I like more. Jack Flaherty on the other side, it'd be interesting to see what like his ownership is compared to some of these other, ownerships in this range. Like, we really haven't seen a lot of him. We don't know how deep he'll go. Kansas City offense is beatable. What are your thoughts when it comes to Flaherty?
Zero interest in him, and it's exactly because of that. It's because of his pitch count. Got to 41 in his last outing. I don't know how late he's going to go into the game here. He obviously had that big break of 3 weeks between starts, so he's got to get stretched out again. I'm not going to be surprised if he gets up to 70 pitches, but on a slate where with Lynn, Maeda, Savale, like Bauer, up at the top, there's almost zero chance that he's going to end up being the guy that you actually want. Like, he can put up a 20-point outing. Not going to argue that. But that he's actually going to outscore all those guys by, more than 2 points is unlikely. So I have no interest in Flaherty because of his pitch count. It's not a bad matchup. You can obviously do some work against him, but there's no point in using him on this slate.
Yeah, like I'm with you. I brought up the pitch count because like that's obviously I feel like the biggest thing. Like I'm not doing it because of that. Like I'm not going to go out of my way to roster Royals bats, but if like Flaherty only goes like 65, 70 pitches, then like, all right, bullpen. I think you can potentially look at like a 2 or 3 man stack from Kansas City here.
Yeah, Dozier, Soler, both of them are actually great plays. They're getting pricing because they're going up against Flaherty, who's probably not going to go more than 4 inches or 4 innings. So you're probably going to end up with the bullpen for most of the game here. So I don't mind either of those guys with the price tag, because they can both absolutely crush the ball out of the ballpark. Yes, Flaherty is a lot better versus righties, but then the rest of the game you're going to end up with bullpen arms here. Franco, just because it's price tag of $3K, I don't hate it. Like, a few of these guys are too cheap because of the matchup here. Witt, I'm not paying 5.3K for, but Dozier, Soler, Franco, even Mondesi down there at 2.8K. Like, if you need to save some money because you want to put Bauer and maybe double ace your lineup, a 3-man stack with Soler, Dozier, and someone else is not the worst idea in the world.
Man, how bad has Mondesi been this season? Like he
has not been good.
We were expecting so much more from him. And no, he's not been good at all. If you expect like Brad Keller to regress, like our boy Blender likes to call it a vomit stack, I think St. Louis is an interesting vomit stack on this slate. The Kansas City bullpen, I was looking into like their numbers and stuff, and like they're not the best bullpen in baseball. So I think like if Keller's not going to continue to have a 0 ERA, and if you're expecting like some type of regression, I think the Cardinals are in play here. They've been terrible to start the season too. DeJong came back, like he got activated on Sunday. So like this lineup is starting to look a little bit more normal. It's ugly to start clicking their buttons, but they're cheap, and I just don't believe Keller is this good.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't either. O'Neill, not a bad play at all at 3.3K. Wong, if he's in the lineup there, I don't mind using him. DeJong, definitely a bat that you can throw in there. Goldschmidt, a little expensive, but a decent guy to throw into your stack. Carpenter, like this is not a terrible stack. And you say vomit stack, but they have a 4.7 implied run total. That's 5th on the board.
But they're so cheap. Like that's the reason. Like they're really cheap. Like you can stack this team for pennies.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think Detroit's more of a vomit stack, or Kansas City, but Cardinals bats, like they just haven't been good. And if some people, like anyone who looks at Brad Keller's actual numbers this season, game log watches, is going to be completely thrown when St. Louis puts up 5 runs against him. So I like the stack. I don't love it, but the price tags make me a lot more enticed by it. And O'Neill is just a great one-off because of his power. So I don't mind a stack here, but O'Neill's the main guy that would use as a one-off.
Yeah, like I think, obviously O'Neill, DeJong, Goldie, like all those guys could be used as one-offs. It's just we haven't talked a lot of offense. There's been so many good pitching options on the slate. We have 2 more games left. So, like, I feel like, hey, we're going to have to talk some offense eventually. So, I think the Cardinals just by default here, if they can get to that Royals bullpen in the 5th inning, that's where they could definitely put up a big day.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Hey, it's Stevietpfl telling you there are 100 million reasons why you should listen up. DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is celebrating the return of sports by giving away up to $100 million in prizes to all their customers, including one lucky winner who will take home a $1 million cash prize. To claim your share of up to $100 million in instant giveaways, all you have to do is download the app and sign up using promo code GRIND, then enter DraftKings free football survivor pool. Yes, it is really that easy to claim your share of up to $100 million in instant giveaways and put yourself in the running to win $1 million in cash prize. Well, the top prize is reserved for one lucky winner. Everyone who signs up and enters DraftKings free football survivor pool will receive an instant bonus of at least $5 in value upon entering. We encourage you to sign up and see what your instant giveaway amount was and share with your listeners. While you're in the app, don't forget to check out the great daily fantasy contest DraftKings is hosting this week for basketball and golf action. NASCAR too with Daytona, like I was just talking about. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code GRIND to claim your share of $100 million in instant giveaways and put yourself in the running for the $1 million cash top prize. That's promo code GRIND to get your share of $100 million in prizes only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. I just did it, and my giveaway was $3. So there we go. We move on to the Angels and the Astros. Patrick Sandoval, Framber, Valdez. Any interest here in Sandoval?
No, not really. I mean, he's been all right this season. Hasn't been anything great. Hasn't been anything terrible. But he's going up against Houston. I don't want to use him against Houston. I don't want to use many arms versus Houston. Obviously, it was a bit better last year. Had a higher K rate last year. But Houston is just not a spot that I want to target a pitcher. I know his price tag's fine, but I'm out on it. I'd rather use Keller than him.
Yeah, I think they're the top offense on the slate, so I'm going to pass on Sandoval here. Valdez on the other side, he's shown like the ability to pitch really well at times this season. This is a really tough matchup when you look at like Trout and Rendon. But overall, like, there's some upside in facing the Angels. I probably won't do it here. We have so many options on the slate. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's Mills that is keeping me off of Framber. It's that simple. They're around the same price range. Again, I'll have to rethink it if ownership goes one way, but it's a tough matchup. Not a ton of strikeouts in there. A few very good bats in the lineup. They have a 4.3 implied run total. He's a good play, just I drastically prefer Mills, so that's why I'm not going with him. I'm not going to talk you off of him. He's been pitching great. He gets up over 100 pitches fairly often here. He has good K stuff. It's just not the highest K matchup in the world. So if Mills is going to be chalky, which, again, I'm not expecting him to because of the other options we have, then he's definitely a decent pivot going up against this Angels team. Doesn't strike out a lot, but he's definitely got the talent to do some damage.
Any interest in the Angels bats here?
Trout, Rendon. Outside of that, like, not a whole lot because even Houston has a good bullpen. Like I said, Valdez has been good this season, so probably not going to go with too many Angels bats outside of the two top ones.
On the Astros side of things, you know, they're expensive. They're super expensive. It's going to be kind of hard to make a stack work, but we do have some options at pitcher that are cheaper. I will say, like, if Taylor Jones cracks the lineup at 2.4K at first base, you know, that will obviously make it a little bit easier to stack this team. Like, Miles Straw's been playing a little bit too. Like, if these guys crack the lineup, it's way too easy to stack Houston. Patrick Sandoval is just not going to strike anybody out, especially the righties. You know, comes in with a 7% K rate against righties on the season, gives up a lot of hard contact. I like Houston. Like I said, they're my favorite stack on the slate. It's just making them work. And don't be afraid to play the lefties here, Grant. Like, Sandoval gives up a lot of fly balls and a lot of hard contact to lefties too.
Yeah, no, right. I agree with you here. Like, just from a raw points perspective, Houston's probably the top stack on the entire slate. I'm not sure what their ownership is going to be, especially it all depends on who's going to be cracking the lineup, and that'll kind of determine how easy it is to stack. But Springer, Altuve, Correa, all fantastic plays. Not too expensive than Brantley if he's in the lineup there at 3.5K, even the lefty. Not the worst idea in the world, but yeah, this stack going up against Sandoval gives up a lot of hard contact to both sides of the plate, has since he's gotten into the league. He actually has a 300 ISO and a smaller sample size going up against lefties. So I don't mind any of these bats here. No one really strikes out a whole lot. So this is just a great stack today.
All right, moving on. We got the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Ryan Castellini against Meryl Kelly. Any interest here in Castellini?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably pass on him too. We really haven't got to see him outside of Coors yet. He's started 3 times, and 2 of those starts have been in Coors. Um, they don't have the roof information up. I was looking a few minutes ago to see if they had that up yet, but they don't have it up yet. Meryl Kelly on the other side, finally came back to planet Earth a little bit in his last start against Oakland. Do you have any interest in him?
No, I mean, he's not the worst idea in the world, but I'm going Lance Lynn 99 out of 100 times over Kelly in this spot. So I zero interest in Kelly for me. I mean, yes, Rockies are away from Coors, but I don't care. I'm not using any Kelly.
This is one of those games that I'll probably try to get bats from both sides of the plate. Like when you're looking at the pitching on the slate, like yeah, Kelly can beat you, but like he gives up a ton of hard contact, and like Story is still hitting the ball really really hard. Mannon, he's hitting the ball hard. Arenado's hitting the ball hard. Like there's plenty of bats here in the Rockies that you can look at.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Blackman and Arenado and Story are all over 5K. Like, if the roof's going to be, or if the dome's going to be open, then that would definitely change things. But if the roof is closed, I have zero interest in the Rockies.
Yeah, I like the Arizona side way more here. Like they're the side we're targeting. Like I said, we really haven't seen a lot from this young pitcher yet, but everything that we've seen so far is you're giving up a ton of hard contact to both sides of the plate. Like Arizona has not been great to start the season, but like Cole Calhoun, 3,900, I feel like he's like a top play on the slate at that price.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the what's it called? The Arizona bats. Like they are gonna probably crush you. The weirdest thing though, Rockies, you know what their road ERA is?
Is it low?
2.16. That starters and reliefs, but their xFIP is 4.5. Like a lot of people see how teams have gone against the Rockies on the road and might second think things. I don't think that's like clearly the advanced numbers say something entirely different. Arizona bats are too cheap outside of Marte. But Peralta, Walker, if he's in the lineup, Escobar, Calhoun, love all of them. Castillo, and he is not a good pitcher. He probably will not be a good pitcher. He was not a good pitcher in the minors. He's going to get blown up here, and I get that the Rockies stars and bullpen have been great so far this season, but it's not going to keep up. I love the Arizona bats. I like them more than Houston, I think, when you consider ownership. And keep an eye out on if the dome is going to be open. And it's not the worst idea in the world to kind of swap over some of your Houston bats over to Rockies and Diamondbacks bats if we don't get news about the dome till later in the day.
Yeah, like obviously that'd be something that we're just gonna pay attention to. They've been like knock on wood, they've been really good about putting that info out this season. So that means it probably won't get put out early enough today because I said that. Yeah, let's play the morning grind game and then we'll get out of here. Give me a guy under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts on this slate.
I'm going Mills.
All right, I'm gonna go Zardo. Give me a guy over 8K to score under 15.
And the right answer is probably Kelly or Savale, or Kelly or Flaherty, but I'm going to go Savale.
All right. I'm going to go Flaherty, pitch count, and all that stuff. I feel like he has a pretty low.
Taking the easy one.
I did. You're right. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Castellanos.
I'm going to go with his counterpart, Suarez. Under 4K to get 2 hits.
Davidson, who's going to hit 2 bombs.
That would be very nice. I'm going to go Cole Calhoun. I already talked about how much I like him on the slate. Give me a stack to score 6 or more runs.
Reds.
All right. I'll go Arizona. Man, that's quick, easy. I think that's the fastest we played the morning grind game all year. Grant, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Check out ownership tomorrow when it comes to pitching because that's going to be a large determining factor on who you play.
Let's see. My thoughts are when you have an ad read, make sure you read it before you do it. On that note, we're gonna get out of here. It's Sunday nights, and I hope everyone had an awesome weekend. We'll be back Tuesday talking some more baseball. Good luck in your contest, and we'll see you then.